In preparation for our film opening, we chose to look at different films of the same genre, psychological thrillers. We chose to adopt the forms and conventions from American Psychos that show the same style that we were going for, dark, gritty, and realistic. We decided to draw from a scene from American Psycho. The scene that we studied was the killing of the homeless man within the dark stretch of the alleyway. This influenced the directors into implementing something similar into the final product towards the end of the opening. A tape deck was used before the credit sequence to give the audience more insight into what has happened and what he has turned into. This was put before the credit sequence so that it would interest the audience to engage with the film, as it's known that people base whether they will continue a video within the first 35 to 120 seconds. Flash forwards are not commonly seen within the genre of psychological thrillers, therefore we chose to challenge the convention and implement a sense of originality within the opening. In the film opening, the scene of the killing of the homeless girl consisted of a chase and then a brutal killing. We chose not to show the brutal killing of the girl, as the most powerful thing that a director has is the imagination of the audience. However, in an ideal world, we would have used a knife, just like in American Psycho, and showed the stabbing. The cinematographer of American Psycho decided to use many close-ups and dolly shots within the movie. This inspired the group to also take up the approach of implementing such techniques into our film opening, therefore exercising the conventions of the genre. However, in contrast to American Psycho, which had vivid colors with high contrast, we decided to go the opposite way and pull the saturation down in order to put emphasis onto the dullness of the shots. This was to show the coldness of the day, and this was done through the use of color and lighting in post-production. We decided to use a voiceover. This is not the most common convention of the genre, but it is used in some movies. We chose to challenge that convention and decided to use a voiceover within our film opening to develop the narrative of the opening. The Machinist is another psychological thriller that influenced our final product and story. From the film, we decided to use the insanity element of it due to him not sleeping. Our story has something similar, where the main character has not slept in weeks and is now going insane. Or is he? A disorder is a very typical convention of psychological thrillers. Many have addictions and problems. This is why we chose to use insomnia and schizophrenia in our narrative. The final thing that we studied from The Machinist is the color and lighting. We went for a similar style of color, as it was very dark and gritty, with also a sense of realism. This is what we were going for.
Our film opening is mainly targeted towards the working class audience, majority of which are male. This is because we were inspired by many successful psychological thrillers, such as Memento. The majority of Memento's audience is the working class between the ages of 18 to 44, majority being white, working class males. Psychological thrillers usually have a mystery to their storyline and require you to use your initiative as well as to use your intellectual thinking to figure out what is the narrative. Therefore, this would attract a more older, intelligent audience, because if the audience are unable to work out the storyline, they will find the film less appealing and will lose interest. Our opening was very complex, as it included disorders and mental illnesses. The whole idea of the film opening was that we wanted the audience to engage with the opening to understand what the opening is about. Some audiences told us that they understood our opening, but it took them a lot of thinking and time to actually finally understand the concept of the opening. This is what we wanted. We asked people from all different years to watch our film opening. We got their feedback, and this is what they thought. So what did you think of our film opening?
I really liked it. I like the different camera angles we used.
Did you get an idea that the main character had a disorder?
Not really, I didn't understand it at all. But I knew something was wrong with him, but I couldn't tell.
So which audience do you think our film opening is aimed at?
I think it's aimed at teenagers because it's very, I didn't understand it. So then, no, actually I think it's aimed at older people.
Did you get an idea that our opening was a psychological thriller?
No, I knew something was wrong with him, but I didn't understand what was wrong with him.
So if our film opening were to continue, would you want to watch it?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I want to know what's going to happen next.
So what did you think of our film opening?
I thought it was really good.
Did you understand it?
I mean, I didn't understand why the man killed
Homeless women.
Yeah.
If the film were to carry on, would you want to watch it?
Yeah, I'd like to find out what actually happened for him to kill her. I definitely want to go.
Who do you you think the target audience is for our film
I
opening?
think it'd be aimed towards older older like murdering, like the crime.
So, did you like our film opening?
Oh yes, certainly.
Who do you think that our film opening was aimed at?
I think it was aimed for the old people and middle age.
Did you understand the film opening?
Oh yes.
Yes, you did. Thank
Very
you.
clear.
So, what did you think of our film opening?
Yeah, I thought it was really good but confusing. But then again, I thought that was a good thing because it makes me want to watch confusing films more. I think it would be aimed at people that like such a genre.
So, what did you think of our film opening?
I really liked it because of the camera angles and the soundtrack used.
Was it clear that our film opening was a psychological thriller?
Not really, but I thought it was a thriller.
Did you get a sense that the main character, the male, had a disorder?
No.
So how do you think we should have shown that in a clearer way?
Maybe you could have shown a different aspect of his life.
Which audience do you think our opening is aimed at?
An older age group
Why?
because of his mental disorder.
So if I didn't tell you about the mental disorders, what age group do you think it would have been aimed for?
Teenagers and still an older age group.
We attracted the audience by using a similar cinematography style to American Psycho, which is a successful psychological thriller. We achieved this by using many mid-close-up shots of the face to show emotion. Since our opening is based on a mental illness, majority of the opening includes a voiceover of his thoughts, as we cannot show the character's thoughts physically. Therefore, we show the emotion through the facial expressions and voiceovers. The purpose of the voiceover was to convey the thoughts and emotions of the character, as without the voiceover, what is being shown on screen will not make sense. We addressed our audience to be an older, more intelligent audience who will understand the narrative. Therefore, since this opening is only aimed at a more older audience, the younger audience may feel alienated as they will not understand the concept of the opening and not be interested enough to watch the rest of the film.
What we have learnt from using the Nikon and Canon cameras was that depending on which camera we used, the quality differed. This was due to the Canon being able to record in a higher definition compared to the Nikon camera, but also having more settings in which we could add to create the atmosphere of our opening. We had to use the software Final Cut Pro to edit our film. This enabled us to edit the film and add a variety of different music to it. This meant that we didn't have to shoot in the correct sequence as we had the ability to play around with the order of the footage. What we learnt from our preliminary task is how to incorporate a variety of different shots from different perspectives using minimal jump cuts. For example, we put an establishing shot in our film and followed this with a clip of the train station's Mind the Gap, which is progression from our prelim as we actually planned out how and what we were going to put into the film by storyboarding it and paying close attention to detail, which we did not do in the prelim as we thought about everything from the makeup, costume, as well as the lighting, which is portrayed in the first part of the opening as we use basic cinematography and a very flat, coherent use of colouring. We made the colouring of the tube bright, however, at the same time dull by using bright lighting but making the colour correction look grey with a dull undertone on Final Cut Pro to show the character's thoughts and emotions, thus the progression from the prelim to the full product. Another thing which we have all learnt in the need of continuity is vital for the storyline and film in order for it to make sense. We did this by using Final Cut Pro, which made editing easy as it lets you select the specific frame you want to include in the video.
In our film opening, we only have two main characters, one male, Vince and alternatively Larry, and the other a female as a homeless person. We wanted our characters to be represented within today's society because of the controversial views that this society has on women. Our protagonist Vince, and alternatively Larry, is a middle-class working male. To show this, he dresses smartly in a shirt and tie with a black smart coat. He isolates himself as we can see him wearing headphones, which he uses as an object to conceal himself from society. We purposely portrayed him this way because his character had social disorders such as dissociation identity disorder and schizophrenia. One symptom being inability to concentrate and wanting to avoid people. The second character, who is a homeless woman, dresses in a shirt and leggings. The clothing items are dark and rugged, which suggests within today's society, homeless people are usually considered as dirty and living in squalor, therefore causing people to avoid them. Having the homeless person as a woman adds value to the character's vulnerability, because in our style of genre, the social group should be in the favour of the male gender, because females are considered as being lower class and vulnerable to men. In this case, it is the main protagonist who has caused harm to this inferior woman. In the film industry, traditionally women are seen as physically weaker than men. For example, in the Hollywood horror movie Scream, starring Drew Barrymore, she is in a house by herself, making her vulnerable when she is attacked. She is powerless against the Scream character and results in being murdered. This relates to our film because we were trying to portray female roles as being a weaker social group. In our film opening, we thought that it would be best to research a range and a large array of different institutions, because at first we were unsure of our genre and which institution would best suit our opening. We narrowed down our search to two main genres, psychological thriller and hard drama. We then chose the suitable institutions that would work best for our opening. After we created our storyboard for our film opening, we decided that the best two institution companies would be Lionsgate and Bad Robot. We chose these two institutions because they both produce many psychological thrillers similar to ours. For example, Lionsgate has produced a hard drama film called American Psycho, which is a film that is similar to ours because it incorporates a voiceover similar to ours and addresses the problem of the psyche. Similar to our opening, one scene in American Psycho is the killing of a homeless person, as we mentioned earlier. This leads me to believe that Lionsgate would be a fitting institution as it utilizes some of the same techniques that we did in our opening. Bad Robot was our distributor company because we believed that they were suitable for our opening solely because they have produced many similar films, one being Joyride. We chose this distributor because in Joyride they use many conventions that we would have included in our opening. Finally, I believe that we made the right decision in choosing our institutions because they complemented our opening perfectly.